Yo, what is going on? Hopefully you can hear me, guys. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
Good to go.
Good. Okay, yo, how you guys doing? Yes, we are missing. Whoa, that was an echo for me. We are missing that clown, YouTuber. That's okay. He will be here soon. I don't know. Last time that I made fun of all the other teams when I call Browns the clowns, Steelers to the Steelers, and Bengals to the Bengals, people were complaining that I was making fun of people. I was like, okay,
Too much, guys. Way too much trolling on this. Way. Too much.
I was like, okay, I'm sorry. People were like, yo, you need to stop this, and I was like, what? Okay,
I love it. I love it.
but it's okay. It's okay. Welcome to the AFC North talk. Hey, I'm here, SZG Sports. Here also Tony from the Steelers and Ace Boogie from the Bengals and Quincy Carrier from the Browns. He'll be joining us shortly. He's, taking a small detour. Wait, what? Look at this.
Look at this. Full house.
I think I call him 3 times. I actually think he's like Peter Juice, right? I call him 3 times, boom, appears.
And I appear.
He had Quincy Carrier from the Browns. But yo, let's be honest. Let's start right away. By the way, thank you for everybody that has been subscribing. We are up to 700 subscribers. Thanks to you guys. Our goal is a little bit hefty, but if we can get to 1,000 in the next couple of weeks before the season starts, that'll be great. This is the last Monday of the show. We still haven't figured out what time for Tuesday, but go check it out. Make sure you hit that bell. That way you get informed when we go live, okay? And also, we have been taking feedback. If you're going to watch the replay or if you're watching the replay, there's timestamps and there's going to be clips uploaded through the week of the favorite moments of the show. Anyway, so let's talk right away. Leonard Fournette. They couldn't trade him. They claim they cannot trade him. We can't trade this guy, which is kind of makes sense, right? I mean, running backs are they're easier to find, so I don't know what they want him, but I mean, I would have thought at least a 7th round they would have gotten for him. But anyway, and as soon as I saw him, I thought about one team in the AFC North that should get him, right? Only one.
Yeah.
But I want to hear everybody, and I'll go last. Who that team, or do you think your team should get Fournette? And I will start with the man that apparently was arguing for 8 hours before the show with another.
Some say that argument is still going on.
Mr. Ace Boogie, go ahead, man.
Yeah, man. I think for this one, for me, it was definitely somewhat of a shock that they waited until now to actually do this. We figured that Leonard Fournette was going to be away from that team. They obviously committed to tanking. They were pretty much trying to go for Trevor Lawrence. Me personally, though, I don't believe that they weren't able to get anything for Fournette. I think that they're fans because with me being in Florida, I'm friends with a lot of Jacksonville Jaguar fans. They really love Fournette. A lot of them were upset. Yeah, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them down here. They love Fournette. Down here. Yeah, there's so many. Anyway, a lot of them were upset by the move, and it was kind of crazy because it's just like, okay, they got the other guy and Ngakoue off. They traded him. They got something for him, even though I thought that they should have at least gotten a first rounder for him. They get a second for him, and then they do this with Fournette. So for me, where I was coming from was I was thinking if I am the Bengals, right, and if I'm Mike Brown, and for those who don't know, there's been somewhat of a spat between Joe Mixon and the organization going on kind of on the low. It's been reported that he's been out with these quote-unquote migraines for like 3 straight days. People have started like making jokes about it because he showed up to the scrimmage. He wasn't dressed or anything like that, but there was like loud music playing and crowd noise, and they were like, "Oh, no problem with the migraines now, Joe." So what's going on? So where I was coming from was the Bengals have the number 1 waiver priority, right? And they've got this Joe Mixon issue that isn't working out for them. And so the way that I was framing it is, if I were the Bengals and I'm in this position where we need leverage on Joe Mixon to get him to sign this deal, to do something to ensure that aspect, why not threaten him with, we will sign Leonard Fournette if you don't accept this deal? And even if you do that, it gives you an option outside of Joe Mixon that you would have as insurance. And the reason I say that is when you look at the Browns, they have Kareem Hunt, a well-capable guy that is there in the event that Nick Chubb has an injury. Well, with the Bengals, a lot of people are going to look at us and be like, hey, they have Gio Bernard. He's a great guy. He's more than capable of coming in. And Gio is more than capable, but he's not capable of being effective between the tackles. He's not capable of being a guy that can take 20 to 25 carries a game. That's not Gio. That's not what he does. He's more of a change of pace guy. So when you look at what the Bengals have after that, they really don't have anything. They have Samaje Perine. They also have my guy, Jaquez Patrick, which I'm a huge Jaquez Patrick guy because I know him going back to Tallahassee, was a 5-star guy from FSU, but they really don't have anyone there. So in the event that happens, they really don't have anything. So for me, it's a plus side to a whole bunch of these things because, number one, you're able to ensure that you have some kind of insurance policy after Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon can still leave next season without a contract. It's not written in stone that Joe Mixon's going to accept this deal and take it and be there with the Bengals. Number two, he gives you a guy that was a top 5 pick for essentially possibly nothing. Now, I can't confirm whether or not you have to pay him the $4 million. Obviously, if you have to pay him the $4 million and it's fully guaranteed, that's pretty steep. But they were saying something about it possibly being a contract negated. So if that's the fact, and you can really get him for $1 or $2 million, or only $1 or $2 million, and that's guaranteed, then to me, it's just honestly a no-brainer. And then the other thing is, it puts pressure on Joe Mixon to sign the contract. Like if Joe's saying I want $10.5 million right now, and they're saying no, we want you at $8.5, you can put a pressure on him and say, if you don't sign this, we're putting that waiver claim in to kind of force his hand on that situation. So that's where it kind of started, and then it just started going crazy because people were acting like Leonard Fournette is straight trash, like he's not good. And I was just like, there's no way that this man could run for have 1,600 total yards. He ran for 1,100 with garbage quarterbacks and not really a great team. And people expect him to be Jeremy Hill or say that he's inefficient and this and that. And hey, he's not the most efficient guy, but he definitely is not trash. He definitely is a guy that could come in and make an impact. And my point was, I'd rather have him coming in, and he's going to give me more than Samaje Perine and Giovanni Bernard. And to me, it's not even close when it comes to that. So that's where I was coming from. But obviously, you guys see where that's ended. And I think, Tony, you had something to add there.
Yeah, I just wanted to go into the contract situation because I believe that so the deal there is that Jacksonville voided out because it was a fully guaranteed contract, but they got that voided. So it's no longer – they're fighting, and this is still a fight between the Jaguars and Leonard Fournette. But they essentially got that to not be a guaranteed contract anymore because of the suspension that he got. And so that's why they're able to release him now, and they're hoping that this $4 million that they owed him this year will come off of their salary cap, and they can roll that over into next year.
Like kind of detrimental to the team? Is that what
yes.
they call?
Yes.
Gotcha.
And so essentially the team that would claim him would still need to pay him that $4 million, right? They're still good. Anyone who claims him has to pay the $4 million because that's his cap this year. It's just a question of whether or not Jacksonville would also have to pay it because it was a fully guaranteed contract there, and they have to go through a dispute to whether or not they can take away that guaranteed because of the suspension.
Okay,
all right. Can I say something here? I think we have reached a critical point when it comes to the NFL. I think, look, we've been having fun devaluing these running backs for like the last 7-8 years in the NFL. And I think we've hit our critical mass. This is as low as we can go. A guy who had 1,100 yards gets cut. Gets cut.
Yeah.
Career year.
Gets cut. And not only does he get cut, people are acting like this is not stupid. Let me tell you something. Y'all know the team I cheer for. I smell something very familiar about this. This is pure dysfunction. This is bad. There's no plan. They're not tanking. They're just incompetent. So that's what I think about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like they're tanking to get Trevor Lawrence. They're going to draft Trevor Lawrence and mess him up too. This is incompetence. All right. This is pure, unadulterated incompetence. And it starts with Tom Coughlin because this sounds like something a salty old man would do who wants to do his football guy stuff is cut the running back to send a message to the locker room. That's the.
Wait, he's not there anymore, though, right?
Coughlin too.
Yeah, Coughlin's out.
And they did it on his birthday.
Who's there? Who's running the organization?
They need to cut the GM. They need to cut the GM. If they could cut the GM, that's what they need to do.
Is it Gettleman?
All right,
Bill O'Brien running 2 teams? But anyways, here's what I mean. We're going to learn a very valuable lesson this year. Because they just let Leonard Fournette go for nothing. And people are acting like, oh, yeah, he's going to clear waivers. $4 million a year. Nobody's going to take that. You know who's going to clear? You know who's not going to let that waiver go past him? Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick is not going to see Leonard Fournette on the waiver wire and be like, I can't work with this 1,200 yards. He's not going to look at Sony Michel, who's been like kind of low-key doo-doo for the last 2 years, especially when Nick Chubb was the running back at Georgia that you should have got. And they drafted him before him. Shout out to Bill. He's terrible at drafting, but this is what Bill's good at, is claiming dudes like these. And somehow, in a season where the Patriots look shot offensively, we have somehow allowed them to have a backfield that will have Cam Newton and possibly Leonard Fournette for under the price of $5 million. What is going on? What is going on?
Can I make the argument that this is a smart move by Jacksonville? Is that
Go ahead. Yeah, I would love to hear it. I would love to hear it.
Not to stir the pot too much here, but all right. I'm gonna make the case that Leonard Fournette getting cut is a good move by Jacksonville. Now, I'm not saying. Now, again, I want to preface this by saying I'm not saying that Jacksonville's front office is smart overall. They made a lot of dumb moves, and they will continue to make dumb moves. This might just be a case where they accidentally made a smart one. But Leonard Fournette, if they can, and again, this goes to the idea that they can get that salary to be non-guaranteed so that this money comes off their cap. Okay, Leonard Fournette was not going to help them win any games this year. Okay, and removing him certainly going to help them tank if that's what they wanted. But I don't even know if this is a move about tanking. I think this is much more about salary, because if you look at this team this year, I think they have $38 million in available cap space this year.
34.
And next year, and then next year they're going to have something like 50.
89.
No, 89. No, the 89 on over the cap is wrong, because remember, next year's cap is potentially 175.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So I think it's going to be 50, but then you can roll over that 38. So they're potentially going into next season with $85 million of available cap space in an offseason where, let's remember, there are going to be teams like the Eagles, teams like the Saints, teams like my Steelers, who are going to go into next year's season with negative cap space. And we're talking about $20, $30, $40 million needing to come off the books before they could even start talking about signing their rookies. So we're going to have a glut of free agents next year. We're going to be able to, and there's not going to be a ton of teams that can go out there and sign those guys. So if you're a Jaguars team who wants to tank this year, yes, because you want to get a Trevor Lawrence, you want to get a Justin Fields, or even a Trey Lance, whichever one of those guys ends up being their pick, you can also go into that offseason and start to load up on free agents who in any other year you'd have to pay maybe top dollar for. But because there won't be that many teams with this kind of available cap space, you can now sign those guys at what potentially could be a cheaper price, and you'll have the cap space to sign multiple of those players. So that, from the Jacksonville standpoint, I think might actually be a smart move.
Yeah,
okay, let me
disagree real quick. Who's going to sign in Jacksonville? Like theoretically, yeah, that does make sense. Yeah, right. Theoretically, that does make a ton of sense. Yeah, you could sign all these free agents, but one, who's going to pop up that's a better inside defensive tackle than Calais Campbell that you traded already? Who's going to pop up that's a better running back than Leonard Fournette? So yeah, you might be able to get some bums to replace. Yeah, you might be able to get, Dontrell Hilliard or Gus Edwards to fill that Leonard Fournette role. Congratulations. Yeah. You saved so much money. You're still going to go 4-12. Like, I'll get it. This is a problem that a lot of teams have, and the Browns thankfully look like they're finally transitioning out of it. You have good young players. You have good veterans. Just keep them. Keep them when you can and just see what happens. It's what the Bengals have had a lot of success. They made the playoffs by just keeping their players and being like, all right, we're going to build on this and we're going to build on top of this. They didn't have the quarterback to put them over the top. If they would have had that piece, they would have done a lot more damage. And if they would have had a lot more fortune than luck, they would have done a lot more damage, because those are some good teams. But NFL teams are so fixated with getting rid of everything and starting all over when this job is a 2-year cycle. So you're consistently starting all over. And the next thing you know, you're 20 years in the can and you're a Cleveland Browns fan wondering when it's going to end, because your team keeps doing stuff like this. Your team keeps resetting. And look, I don't know what's going on with Jacksonville. I don't know who their GM is. I don't know who their head coach is anymore. I don't even know what their plan is going into this. I know their owner runs a pretty good wrestling company, and I hope he doesn't do anything he's doing in Jacksonville. Yeah, but he's doing that AEW, because that's actually good. The Jags are terrible. This is terrible. Any way you flip it, they might save cap space here, but it's just like the Browns with Sachi Brown. Yeah, they did a lot of genius stuff, but they never executed on any of it. And when they did, they almost colossally messed it up. People give Sachi Brown credit for Nick Chubb, right? That's one of the biggest things. He made that draft. He traded for Osweiler, got the second round pick. That's the biggest W in Sachi Brown's career. Do you know that the Browns tried to trade that second round pick for AJ McCarron?
I know.
Like somebody had to quit their job and force that trade not to happen and get fired in order for that to happen. This is what dysfunction is. Even if you do something accidentally smart, you will purposely mess it up. So no, there's no way this is good. There's no way this is smart. There's no way you're going to convince me. Even if Leonard Fournette is not good anymore. And look, there's an argument that
Leonard Fournette was never good.
Yeah, or there's an argument that Leonard Fournette is a lot like a guy like Darren McFadden when he was on the Oakland Raiders. Like I see a lot of similarities with those two. Injured a lot, big running back, tons of potential, but never really fully lived up to it. But again, the dude had 1,100 yards last year, so it seemed like that was on the right track. But it's just ridiculous to me that a football team would cut a guy and then say they couldn't trade him. You could trade almost anybody. You just didn't try hard enough to trade him, or you don't got anybody who's good enough. You know what? This is what happens when when the NFL knows you're incompetent. Like they'll probably cut him if we don't call him back. So let's just not call him back, and the idiots actually cut him. Like this is peak incompetence. The Steelers would never cut anybody who had 1,200 yards and say they couldn't trade him. The Steelers could trade James Washington right now and get a third-round pick.
And he had 500 receiving yards. That's why I was arguing with people on Twitter. He had like 10 less yards than Kamara.
The yards are fake. The yards are not real. The yards are not real. Sonny, you haven't talked yet. Sonny, let Sonny talk before.
Yards.
The yards not real.
That's not true. But let me say this. Couple of things. I think Jacksonville's horribly run. Not only the Fournette, the trade of Ngakoue, they hold to this guy for so long. Minnesota knew they were done.
It's
right?
a third round pick. It's a third round pick. Yeah. I don't care if they say second round.
That's my point. Because Minnesota, what did Minnesota need to say?
But they got a second pick in that too. They got a second pick that could also be like another third round.
I think it was a fifth round.
But it was a fifth rounder. It can escalate. It can escalate up to a third.
And my point is, if you would have traded Ngakoue on the right time, that would have been a first round pick. They waited and became a late second and a possible third. Right? It's just bad with Fournette. Look, like you guys are saying, 1152 rushing yards, and then he had 522 receptions or yards.
Receiving yards. 522 would be a record.
522.
76 receptions. He only had 3 rushing touchdowns. But let's talk about this. Jacksonville's O-line. They are atrocious.
Thank you. They're horrible.
No,
and then they have Minshew magic. They might have a couple of good throws here, there. Look at that the mustache because people like gimmicky shit like that. But because of the mustache, right? But
that's true.
But the reality is, for $4 million right now, right? $4 million in the grand scheme of things, how much cap they have, like $4 million for the Steelers because they're tight against the cap every time. It's big. $4 million for them is nothing. And second, right now, if Jacksonville wants any decent play, let's say, for example, Matt Judon, he's a free agent next year. If Matt Judon costs 16 for everybody, and there are a couple teams that want him for in Jacksonville Knox, it's 19 for them, right? Every player, because right now they have the only good thing they did, in my opinion, was the Ramsey deal because he didn't want to be there, and they at least got 2 first-round picks for him. But other than that, all players look like they can get fast enough out of there, right? So if you're a free agent, you know that. You go and God with like, man, that plays a joke. You go for Fournette, Ramsey, well, I don't want to be there, right? Booyah that went to Denver in a trade. Nobody wants to be there. Look, they're horribly
got rid of everyone.
Yes.
No, I mean, that AFC Championship team, I don't even know. I don't know who's still on the team.
Miles Jack is next. Miles Jack, you might as well start packing your clothes. So.
Miles Jack would look good in black and gold. I'm just saying.
No. Now, going with the topic, if there's any AFC North team that should take it, look, the Browns have 2 really good backs. In the case of the Bengals, they have Mixon, which is a great running back. I understand your point, Ace Boogie. Because Gio Bernard is not a every down back. I love Gio Bernard in open space, right? Third and long, maybe he can do a good run. He can definitely catch out of the backfield. Great, that's his specialty, and that's good. I mean, there's a bunch of running backs that made a career just on that. So they could use Leonard Fournette, but the team and the Ravens right now, we have 4 running backs that we might keep. But the team that right now is thin. And Lamar, okay, got you. It's the Steelers. Steelers have
no. That's gonna be a big no.
Connor, and you know he was injury prone. And Snell, what the Snell did last year? He wasn't as good.
Snell looks good. Snell's a young player who looks good, who costs way less than $4 million.
Fournette on a horrible O-line put 11.52 and the Steelers O-line, he would do better. I think the big problem with Fournette, I actually don't think he can be the main running back. I think he needs to have a sidekick. I don't think
he doesn't want to be a sidekick. That's why he's not in Jacksonville.
I don't think with injuries, his injury history, I don't know if his body can hold like the pounding in and out. But with the Pittsburgh, he can rotate in that running back room. I think it will be good. I think Fournette is a tough running back when he has any decent players around him, which he hasn't had any.
Let me dispel the notion for a second that Leonard Fournette is a good running back. I am here to tell you Leonard Fournette is actually a very average running back. In fact, if you looked up average running back in the NFL terminology book, there's not even a definition. It's just a picture of Leonard Fournette and his 2019 season. Because, let's talk about Leonard Fournette. We talked about 1,100 yards and 1,100 yards rushing and 500 yards receiving. Now, Ace, when I saw you get into this conversation with Joe Goodberry earlier today, I was on your side because I was thinking to myself, like, I understand that Fournette's not worthy of the 4th overall pick where he got taken, right? Clearly, from his career, that is not who he is. Right. But the guy's not average, right? That was my thought going in. Then I started looking into some of the numbers, especially last year. And we keep talking about Leonard Fournette and this, career year that he had last year, 1,100 yards, 500 receiving. But then you start looking into the efficiency of it, and it's average. I mean, it is literally average. So, let's talk about PFF because we love talking about PFF here. PFF had him ranked 47th out of 58 running backs that they had graded overall, right? So he's the 40th. So again, that's below average, but that's PFF. And again, as I've said, you don't use PFF for everything. They are one statistic among many. Football Outsiders has their own rankings for running backs. They had Leonard Fournette 34th out of 45, right? So that's another ranking. Again, we take that into consideration. Let's look at yards per carry. This was Leonard Fournette's best year, yards per carry, 4.3. This is the only time in his career that he's averaged over 4 yards a carry. And to me, when we start talking about 4 yards a carry, that's where average starts for me, because below 4 yards a carry, I can get anybody off the street to run 3 yards a carry. So this is the only time in his career where he actually ran over 4 yards a carry. He was at 4.3. That ranks 26th out of 47 running backs this year. The yards per catch, because the 500 number got to me. That's where I thought, he was actually good as a receiver. 500 yards as a running back is good until you look at the yards per catch number where it's 6.9. Among running backs, that's 24th out of 35 running backs who caught more than 30 balls this year.
They had nothing, dude. They had nothing.
No. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there because I'm gonna need you guys to explain something to me in here in a second. But then the catch, the catch percentage as well, because people talk about running backs can be more efficient. Because by the way, his yards per catch, if you ranked him among all players who caught the ball, he would be 144th out of 155 qualifiers, literally at the bottom of the league. Okay,
you should probably qualify that with players who have had like at least as many. It's like 50 receptions, though. I think it's 30 receptions to qualify.
Yeah. 30. It's 30 receptions to qualify. The catch percentage, which is among running backs, should be high because it's an easier percentage throw. And they believe he had a 70% completion percentage or catch percentage. That ranks 27th among running backs. Literally every single one of his statistical categories is league average or worse. This is a guy, and by the way, we're talking about his career best year. If you go back to any other year of his career, he's actually worse than this. Go back to his rookie year. Every statistical category that year is even worse than what he did last year, where by all those metrics, he's a league average running back. Now, the one that really got me, and when I said, I'm out on Leonard Fournette. How many times
none of this have really got you so far?
Yeah, this is the one that put it over the top of me. How many times do you think Leonard Fournette averaged 5 yards per carry in a game. He's played 36 games. What if I told you it was 5 times out of 36? Now let's go to another running back who plays behind a bad offensive line. I'm going to talk about Nick Chubb here for a second. Nick Chubb plays on a bad offense and a bad offensive line.
I'm the same.
Nick Chubb has won 5 yards per carry.
He's got a way better quarterback.
Marginally better quarterback. I would agree better quarterback.
He's got Odell Jarvis that the defense has to worry about.
DJ Shark.
We can talk about 8 men in the box. We can pull that statistic up. We can pull this statistic up of 8 men in the box. Nick Chubb 15 times 5 yards per carry in 32 games. 36 games, 5 yards per carry 5 times to Nick Chubb 3 times as many. 3 times as many. Leonard Fournette is an average running back in the league. That's what he is right now.
Wow.
Okay.
All right. The fact that he could be an average running back in the worst situation. And name me 3 offensive players on the Jaguars that you will want on the Steelers.
No, there's none. There's none. And Leonard Fournette's not one of them.
So how can you compare what Nick Chubb did with a bad offensive line with an offense?
Well, what are we talking? Okay, so in order for a running back, this is the point though. Running backs, and this is why running backs don't matter. You don't a running back. Okay, you put a running back in a bad situation, he's going to do bad. You put a running back in a good situation, he's going to do good. I don't care what running back I have. If I have a good offense, he's going to do well. And you don't need Leonard Fournette to have your.
Why doesn't James Conner do the same?
James Conner is an average running back in a good system, and by the way, his numbers
Conner
are
is worse than Leonard Fournette. He's under Leonard Fournette.
He was below
Leonard
average.
Fournette is better than James Conner.
But you just said
their numbers are strikingly similar.
No,
they're strikingly similar.
Oh wait. You just said if a running back's in a good situation, they will be good. You just pointed out that Nick Chubb was in a bad situation.
And Fournette has destroyed his Steelers.
You just pointed out that James. Hold on.
181 yards. How many yards per carry did he have that game, Tony? When it was 181 yards, and then he had the other one where he dropped 3 touchdowns on you guys. Leonard Fournette, if he had to go against the Steelers every time,
you don't use one game sample sizes to grade players.
And literally, every defense that he played was like, hey, we have to watch Leonard Fournette because literally
they didn't watch anyone else. They didn't concentrate on anyone else.
This man carried the whole load on there. Like in that kind of a circumstance, you can't compare it to every other running back in the league because nobody has that load.
If this were true that he's this hidden gem, why did no one trade for him? Literally, everyone has
why did the Jaguars make the playoffs in 2017?
Category where he's average, and
why did the Jaguars make the playoffs in 2017? Why did they go to the AFC Championship?
An elite defense,
great defense, and what else?
In football.
And what else?
That's it. That's literally it.
They didn't have a great running offense.
No, he averaged 3.9 yards per carry.
Okay, let me say this.
The
year that they made the playoffs, it was because they had a hell of a defense.
Yes.
And the defense only had to watch for Fournette because the reality is anybody
Bortles
here
was actually decent in games that year. Listen, I watched him against the Steelers.
Bortles has had games where he threw for thousands of yards in garbage times and threw for all of these touchdowns, and they won 4 games. It wasn't until they switched to the run game and had the defense that they.
It was key on the run,
and there was no one that they could throw to. There was absolutely Alan Hearns is not like you're not selling me on Alan Hearns. You can run. You could put 10 people in the box on Jacksonville every single play because there's nobody there. You can't tell me that if you put Leonard Fournette on the Dallas Cowboys that he would not take off.
Of course.
He had 1,600 yards
any
with
running
Jacksonville.
You could put
with Gardner
any running back in that system,
and
they would do well.
And bum linemen and bum receivers. There was no one there. You put him in Pittsburgh, there's no way that he's only getting 1,100 yards, Tony.
No, of course he would have more, but that's because the Steelers have a competent offense. Look, James Conner
did not have a competent offensive coordinator.
James Conner's he's in what I mean by do you understand what average means? You could take any running back and put him in the system and they would do the exact same thing, right? So if you took an average running back and put him alongside James Conner, he's going to have James Conner's numbers. That's what I'm telling you.
I think depending on where he goes.
I did not see it. Anytime you guys lost James Conner, I didn't see guys putting up James Conner or Le'Veon Bell numbers. I didn't see it in Pittsburgh.
No, James Conner,
unless I missed the memo. Did Jalen Samuels do that? Because I never saw that happen.
No, he threw a pick.
As long as we're talking about one game sample sizes here, Jalen Samuels ran for 200 against New England. So yes, that did happen.
Okay, let's round this topic and saying this. Look, I think Leonard Fournette, if he goes to a good team, he's gonna kill it. If he at that crappy team was able to put 1,100 yards, if he was able in that crappy team to put 1,100
He
yards,
had more total yards than Mixon.
if he goes to
Totally.
any competent team, I
Do you think he's better
he
than
will
Mixon?
No, I think he's probably
No.
Okay, then yards-
like
then
right
yards are
below
not the
him.
only thing-
I don't think Mixon is average though, and he had more yards than average. Like I
No, because
don't
Mixon-
care whether it was efficient or not. 1,600 yards is 1,600 yards.
No,
You
it's not.
can't Go,
Oh,
you
no,
can't
that's
go
not
back
true.
and be like, oh,
Hey,
my
hey,
bonus
come on.
is
That's not true.
My bonus
Okay.
is I have to make 1,600 yards this season to get my $5 million
No.
bonus. No one's gonna go into our offense and say,
So,
well, you weren't
20
efficient at it, so you
Okay,
don't get it.
Can I ask a question? I have two running backs that are available in free agency. Which one would you like to sign? One of them ran for 2,000 yards, but he did it on 500 carries. The other one ran 100 times for 1,000 yards. So one ran
Behind
for
which
2,000.
line? Behind which line? Behind which
No,
which quarterback?
100.
Which
He ran 100
system?
times for 1,000 yards. You tell me which line was better.
I
100
would want
times
the
for
guy who's
1,000
a
yards
proven
or
workhorse
500
and the guy
times
I
for
know
2,000.
can
Which
get
one would
that.
you want?
Tony,
I would
you
take the guy
just
with
said
2,000 yards.
yourself, if you have a great offensive line, just like the Cowboys did when they had Joseph Randle, you could put
Yeah.
anybody behind it and it would look efficient.
Yes.
But you could take someone that's amazing like Zeke and you could put him behind Jacksonville's line and he's not going to put up the same numbers because it's not as good of a line. It's not as good of a situation. It's not a great play caller. It's not the same thing. There's all of those things
Transcendent.
that go into it.
Yeah,
We can't
I'm
even
not,
name
I'm not
who-
going to sit here and tell you that offensive line play has nothing to do with it. Okay, but what I am going to tell you is,
chalk 1,600 yards up to being average.
No,
That's not average.
yes,
numbers.
I can because
let
all
me-
he did was
Show
just
me,
run the
show
ball a
me,
lot
show me an
and catch
average
the ball a
running
lot.
back
He
that
didn't do it
played
efficiently.
16 that played
Okay.
16 games that had 1,600 yards. When you can show me that instead of an average or a sample size of something, my sample size is an entire season, 15 games. Show me or 16 games, whatever. Show me where someone did that in their average. That's all you have to show me is where someone had 1,600 total yards and it was declared that they were average.
Look at this.
Leonard
look at
Fournette.
I'm
Leonard
just gonna-
Fournette.
Look, I'm gonna ask you this.
Yeah.
Just because Zeke Elliott, for example, Zeke Elliott.
Yeah.
Zeke Elliott
Yeah.
played one more game
Right.
and ran 200 yards more than Fournette.
Right.
Think about that. Only play one more game, and that O-line with those weapons only rushed for 200 more. Again, I go back Jacksonville. I cannot name you one O-lineman from Jacksonville other than Clark. That's the only receiver I can remember out of the top of my head. And I know they have Minshew Magic because people were going crazy about the stupid mustache, and that's it. That's all I can tell
And
you
before
about.
that, it was Nick Foles. Are we not forgetting how bad
Oh, he
Nick
played
Foles
like
was?
a game or two.
He
Yeah,
was
that's
horrible.
true.
Yeah, he didn't even play
And then he
much.
came back. They benched Minshew.
And then bench him again. Right, I agree. But my point is, he only had 200 less yards than Zeke Elliott, and Zeke played one more game than
Right.
him.
Zeke didn't have a
after that.
okay, yeah, but Zeke didn't have a great year last year, right? We would all agree with that. Zeke was not great last year. Zeke's been great in his career.
Still
Last
an
year,
elite running back last year.
He was
he's still
13
leading running back because he's proved in his career that we know he's an elite running back, but he was not elite as a player last year, right? This is the difference.
13-57.
This is the difference.
So if you
Leonard
put
Fournette
Leonard
has
Fournette
never
on the
proved himself
Ravens,
to be a good running back in this league. He has only proved himself to be average. A player like Joe Mixon, the reason why I'm so high on him, and I think Ace, you're so high on him, not what he did last year. It's what he did the year prior, where he averaged 5 yards a carry, and he looked like he could be a guy that you could build an offense around. He hasn't been. He wasn't that guy last year. The hope is he can get back there, right? But what I'm saying is Leonard Fournette has never in his career proved that he's that guy. And if you're telling me that a guy putting up 4.3 yards a carry is some sort of transcendent player that I have to go sign or I have to go trade for, what I'm telling you is I totally disagree with that. I think it's a very average player.
Can't there be a middle place here, though? I don't think anybody's saying he's a transcendent player. I don't think anybody's making the argument that he was one of the top 5 running backs last year. But there is a lot of room between league average and transcendent that is very valuable and worth more than $4 million a year. Here's all I'm going to say is when Bill Belichick, Cam Newton, and Leonard Fournette win the Super Bowl with this run-heavy offense that they're going to do,
It's not gonna happen.
the whole league trend, just like Sean McVay when he almost won it, the whole league trends will be like, oh man, you got to get yourself some running backs. You got to, and then we're going to be talking about how running backs are going to start to be overvalued in like 2 years because this is the point to where we have let Leonard Fournette, who is a great running back, not an elite running back, but a great running back, slip all the way down that he could just get cut. Are we?
I think
are we wild at this point? Like we just gonna cut. We gonna cut Mark Ingram now? Because
It's
I
Jacksonville. Jacksonville is not competent. Jacksonville is not competent.
Rapid fire. What is the place? And with this, we're gonna move to the next topic.
Oh.
Where do
Yeah.
you think Fournette and Tony?
Okay.
What do I think he ends up?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I literally have no idea. Someone's going to sign him to be a backup somewhere. I would assume, right?
Okay.
Maybe Washington makes some sense.
I think that he ends up. I don't think he gets past the Buccaneers. They've needed a running back for a while.
I think they like their two guys, though.
But I think one of the biggest scapegoats, not to get back into it, one of the biggest scapegoats in Jacksonville is their GM and how horrible he is.
Yeah.
I'm just going to share with you one tweet of Jacksonville's first-round draft picks since 2010. Josh Allen, Taven Bryan, Leonard Fournette over Deshaun Watson, which I did not agree with. Jalen Ramsey, Dante Fowler, Blake Bortles, Luke Jokel, Justin Blackmon, Blaine Gabbert, and Tyson Alou.
Hey, I like Tyson Alulu. He's a Steeler. Well, it's one thing we can all agree on.
They picked him like number 10. I remember being in the room. Yeah. My friends who were Jacksonville fans were pissed when they drafted him number 10.
Listen, we can all agree Jacksonville's front office is a dumpster fire. I mean, an absolute dumpster fire. Yeah.
Okay, for me, the team that I think he will end up, or I think it will make a lot of sense, is a team that lost a running back last year. It's not in the North. It will be the Rams. I think the Rams can actually use him. I think they key on the running game and play action. My guy over there that I don't think he's that great. Oh my God, Goff. I think Goff needs a good running back behind him. I know they drafted Henderson a couple years ago.
They got Cam Akers too.
Okay. Well, you put all those three running backs and let whoever wins the job win the job. I think for $4 million, I think it makes sense. I don't know, Quincy. Do you have any other team that you think he might fit?
And Kareem Hunt, by the way, makes $3 million. So just to put things in perspective, Kareem Hunt's at $3 million,
and that's a bargain. $4 million. All of a sudden, we got to have this big. I don't understand, but he's going to.
No, Kareem Hunt's good.
yeah. He's going to the Patriots. I'm telling you, Sony Michel, the sizzle. He can run real fast around the edge. You just give the ball down the middle. It's going to be like what they had when they had the one guy, James Washington, and what's his name? LeGarrette Blount, when they were just like dogging.
Yeah.
LeGarrette Blount, who's only good in the playoffs. So it's going to be just like that. So come on, this is what their offseason has been. So they're going to have some combination of Sonny Michel.
He would be an upgrade in New England. Where, by the way, Sonny Michel last year 3.7 yards per carry. So very bad.
Okay, let's go to the safety out of Los Angeles Chargers. Man, I'm blanking his name right now.
Derwin James.
Derwin James, which all my Ravens fans always remember that we passed on him. And I always have to remember, Ravens fan, that was the year that we traded back twice to eventually trade back up to get Lamar Jackson. Anyway, Derwin James, this is sad, though. I think he's a hell of a player, but rookie year he played, and this will be the second consecutive year that he missed the entire year. I don't know, man. I think it's getting concerned. I think you should like the organization will be concerned because next year he's going to his fourth year. Now, if he balls in, now what do you do? Do you pay him? Do you not pay him? What do you do with him? I think he's a great safety. I think he's a great player. But I mean, this is concerning. What do you guys think?
He's one of the best safeties in the league when he's healthy, right? I mean, but the guy, like you said, this is going to be the second straight year he's going to miss the entire season, and this is a knee injury that it looks like he's going to have to. I think it was a foot injury last year, so this is obviously not good for him. And the thing about him is his athleticism is really what strikes you about him as a player. And so if this knee injury takes some of that away from him this early in his career, we really only seen him for 1 year. It's a terrible loss for the Chargers, obviously, but really for the NFL as a whole because he was one of the funnest defenders to watch, more of an in the box safety, but. Fantastic player, tough loss, and the NFL is worse now that he's going to be out for the year.
Is he out for the year?
Yeah, they said 6 to 8 months.
Yeah, so NFL.com has said that he's out for the year.
Yeah.
Anything else from you?
For me, I mean, Derwin James, for me, being that I lived in Tallahassee, witnessed a lot of those years of him and Jameis and all of those guys, Dalvin Cook. He was an extremely talented player. Really wanted him for the Bengals as well. The Chargers ended up picking him right before us. I was upset with that. We ended up coming out good with that because we got Jesse Bates in the second round. But it's a shame because this is like the second year in a row that this has kind of happened. Like he started off last year with a little bit of an injury, missed most of the season, and then he follows that up with this before being, I believe, in the Defensive Player of the Year talk, or at least it was talked about with him being in that aspect. It's good for me because the Bengals play them week 1, but I did not want to miss the entire season. So for me, it's a tough one because I'm a really big Derwin fan, and was looking forward to him being that guy again this year. But sucks. Sorry for the fans.
I feel like the Chargers don't have any luck also with injuries, man.
They are cursed, but they have so many years they've been cursed with injuries. Yeah.
Sucks. Okay, so we're almost been an hour, and we have told you guys that we want to keep it an hour. So really quick, I think each of us should just go what has happened in their training camp this week. Go ahead, Ace.
So for me, it wasn't much. The Bengals had a scrimmage with Joe Burrow's second scrimmage. This one took place at Paul Brown Stadium. Was a pretty solid scrimmage. It was kind of weird because a lot of the scoring stuff was kind of unique. But apparently Joe Burrow, I think, had at least one touchdown to Tyler Boyd. There was one that was supposedly the second one, but they ruled it a sack or something like that. He's been showing some promise. He did come down to earth a little bit in this one, but he still had a good showing. One thing that really impressed me was when they really needed to get the first down, he was able to call out and restructure a play to cause the running back to actually pick up a block that was key on that play for him to convert a first down. So that confirmed that he does have the ability to call out of plays, and it just really has continued for us. And I think this Thursday we're expecting to see more of a game-like scrimmage that's going to be set up. John Ross apparently is just always hurt. John Ross just hurt his elbow again, so he was out the last.
Did he really?
Yes. He hurt his elbow in the practice. It seems that he's hyperextended his elbow, so we'll see if he plays Thursday. He suited up for the scrimmage, but he didn't play. AJ set out the scrimmage, so we're hoping to get everyone healthy and run another scrimmage before the season kicks off. But that's how things kind of went for us this week.
I have a question real quick on the Bengals because with John Ross going down, who would be the opening day starter on the other side from AJ Green? Would it be would Auden Tate get some playing time?
I think it's a toss-up between Auden Tate. I think Auden Tate definitely gets playing time. But I think it's a toss-up between him and T. Higgins. T. Higgins actually came in and got some work in. But I would probably say, being that Auden Tate and Joe Burrow have more chemistry at this point, it actually might be Auden Tate with T. Higgins kind of rotated in at that second receiver spot.
Okay.
And then one more thing for Ace real quick. How nervous are you about week 1? Like, you guys, Bengals fans all off season have, they built up this Joe Burrow thing to sky high. Right. How nervous are you about week 1 though?
I think at first when I really looked at this situation, to be honest with you, I wasn't nervous because I was wondering what the Chargers were going to do at the quarterback position. So for me, I was kind of expecting them to not have Tyrod in there and throw the other rookie, Justin Herbert, in there. And so I was going to say, we're in the same situation. Justin Herbert, to me, isn't as good as Joe Burrow, so we might have an edge. But obviously, I'm terrified of Joey Bosa and Ingram coming off of that edge. But I think what also put my mind at ease is they're not going to have Derwin James. They're also not going to have Mike Williams, it seems.
Right.
That gives me some confidence in going into that game, but I'm still terrified and having nightmares of Joey Bosa blowing Bobby Hart off the edge and just destroying Burrow. So I'm worried about.
I always forget about Bobby Hart until you
quick throws, get that ball out of there.
Cue.
Yeah, so Browns camp has actually been pretty it's been eventful, and like there's stuff happening. You can actually see it happening. They're not really one of the more secretive organizations out there. They pretty much just live fair. They know what they know what they're going to be expected to do, and they know what they have to do. So it's been eventful in that aspect. When it comes to anything interesting, not a lot interesting. Like, you had the injuries early on in camp, but I think they're poised to kind of recover from that as best as they can. Mac Wilson is out, but the guy they drafted in the 3rd round before Mac Wilson that year to be a stand-up linebacker, Sione Takitaki's had an excellent camp. He's been covering, and he's been able to be in the box as a run stuffer, which is what he was originally meant to do. So he's actually been pretty good. And then with Grant Delpit, Tadeo's been holding up there pretty fine there, and Cedric Redwine's a more than serviceable backup in that role. So I don't think there's going to be any room to panic on there. I do worry about the defense. The defense has issues. BJ Goodson was not there at the scrimmage, and it looked like there were all kind of communication issues. And like, I like BJ Goodson. I don't know if like him not being there is an excuse for the defense not to look good. He's not that good. But you know, there are interesting things happening. A lot of people, like, whenever they hear Browns camp, they're like, "Hey, what about Baker? Is Baker looking bad? Are you worried about Baker?" I'm least worried about Baker in this offense. I think they're going to be fine. They're running the ball really well. Kareem Hunt looks excellent. Like, he looks really good. Like, he did not look this good last year. He looks like he has that burst back. He looks like he has that acceleration back. It's going to be a heck of a combo to stop, honestly. Him and Chubb. I don't know who's going to be able to just shut that down, but we'll see when the season starts. And Odell Beckham has also been excellent. Like, he makes these routine plays that are just amazing when you see somebody else do them. But you kind of just look at him and go, oh, yeah, that's Odell. That's what he's been doing all camp. He's been excellent. He's looked like, 2016 Odell rather than 2018 Odell, which is a nice thing to see. Jarvis has looked fantastic after the hip surgery that's been bugging him for the last 2 years. I think the offense is going to be fine. Like, they're going to have to run the ball a lot to figure it out early in the season. But other than that, like, people worried about Baker Mayfield, I think as long as he stays in rhythm, he'll be fine. Like, I'm not really that worried about him. He looks fine in camp. The only thing I'm worried about with this defense is the solution in the middle and stopping the inside run. But that's been my issue about the defense since the season ended last year, and they really didn't do much to address that other than sign Billings, who unfortunately opted out for good reason. And now they're kind of stuck back where they started at that hole. But I think the Browns in a good spot. They're fine. It doesn't look like a disaster. It doesn't look like they're completely struggling to run the offense or get that installed. They look better than they did last year at this point when it comes to offensive installation. So, it's an uneventful camp, but that's exactly what the Browns needed this offseason, because last year's camp was eventful and, they pooped the bed the first game. So,
Quincy,
I'm all for change there. Go ahead,
Quincy. One of my favorite things about training camp time is the idea of like a kicker punter battle, right? The special teams batters. I know kicker has been a problem in Cleveland for a couple of years now. Is there a kicker battle going on right now, or are they just sticking with what's his name, Siebert?
Yeah, man, don't get me started on Seibert, dude. Look, every time I talk about Austin Seibert, there are Austin Seibert fans. Like, I don't believe it existed, but there are fans who just jump down my throat every time I'm critical of Austin Seibert. So I'm gonna just let it be what it is. All I'm gonna say is that he was dead last, other than a 50-year-old Adam Vinatieri, in extra point percentage. Doesn't look like that's changing. So
really,
he was in like bad. Like, the league average was 94% on those. He was like at 86. Adam Vinatieri was like at 84. So large margin.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have the range to make up for it. People can bring up Sebastian Janikowski. I've had this argument too many times. Like, I know too much about kickers. You can bring up Sebastian Janikowski. He wasn't great at extra points, but Sebastian Janikowski can kick a 60-yard field goal to make up for it, which is exactly what you need a kicker to do if he can't make extra points. So we'll see if he can make the extra points during the season. Maybe he's changed. Maybe he's gotten better. But, the Browns did a rush the ball drill where they kind of simulated, hey, we scored real quick. Get ready to go out there and kick and catch you off guard. And he missed the first one of those drills. So not confident. There's no kicking competition, but whatever. We'll just let it cost us a game before we bring in another kicker.
So there's no competition whatsoever.
They're sticking with him. Mike Prefer loves him.
Unbelievable.
I don't get it. He doesn't have range and he's inconsistent at extra points, but they freaking love him. And it's going to take the Browns to lose a game by an extra point to get rid of him. And everybody be like, oh, Quincy, why didn't we see this earlier? I tried to tell y'all, but y'all downvoted the video in July.
Hey, guys, before we toss it to Tony, can you just give me a quick second and hit that like button? That helps us so much. You guys don't even know. We have between 55 and 60 people watching the show. Just a quick like, if you can. Go ahead, Tony.
Steelers camp. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's Fort Knox, so I mean, I got nothing. Actually, I will say this: they threw us a little bone this week. They're like, all right, you want to watch practice a little bit? Fine, you can watch practice a little bit. We're doing our scrimmage. Everybody's doing their scrimmages this week. So they zoomed it in so you can see one player at a time. If they zoom, I could almost see two, but it was only one player at a time. You can barely even tell what was happening on the play. It was zoomed in so much. In fact, there was one play where even the writers got it wrong, where they were saying it was a wide receiver screen to Juju, and Hayden blew him up, when very clearly Juju was blocking Hayden, and Hayden blew him up, but it was wide receiver screen to another player who they were then tackling later on, but you couldn't tell because, again, it was so friggin' zoomed in. The one thing I'll say about that scrimmage, Ben didn't really play a lot. You guys will find this funny. This was the time when they wanted to give Mason Rudolph his time, right? Because, look, preseason is very big for their young quarterbacks, right? Our young and developing guys, we got to give them their preseason time. So Ben got like 2 series in the scrimmage, and the rest of it was all Mason and Duck. Yeah, great. So that happened
out there. Just like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I could, as zoomed in as that, I could still tell Mason was doing bad. Even as zoomed in as they were like, that was an inaccurate ball. There was another open guy. Even though I couldn't see anything, I just knew the other guy was more open than the receiver he threw to. What else? Oh, David DeCastro went down with an injury this week after coming back from an injury. So we'll see. Tomlin said in his press conference that it doesn't sound like it's anything at all. He's saying, maybe day to day or, be back for the regular season. But boy, concerning when a guy sits out the majority of camp, and he's a veteran, so it's likely just like a lingering thing that they wanted to make sure it didn't become any worse. But then they let him back to practice, and he gets hurt again the very same day. That's a little concerning for me. Otherwise, though, yeah, I mean, it's Steelers camp is it's nothing.
I will say the Ravens camp is very similar to Steelers. I had criticized them in my live stream because they show me, they say, oh, we're live streaming the camp. And all they show you is players stretching, players either jug machines or blanking on the name of the machine for the D lineman that they're pushing on.
Yeah.
That's literally all they're showing you. And then they show you maybe a one-on-one drill for like a minute and a half. Yeah. That's it. So all I can tell you is what I hear. Yeah, so now they're the only thing that will say that they do better than the Steelers is, Tony, you were saying that they were checking the notes for the Steelers. They're not doing that for the reporters. The reporters can just report on whatever. Reporters
I'm not sure if that's true. That's just what I heard. So I don't want to report that as fact.
So Deshaun Jackson's looking pretty good. So that was obviously a big thing. So obviously all reporters go there to see how Deshaun Elliott is doing. They're saying that he's looking pretty good. The scrimmage they had, the defense looked fantastic. The offense actually struggled against the defense for a little bit. And then other than that, the only injury we had was Matabuki actually left the practice. They said it's not serious, but I haven't seen if he came back. And
you have to let me know.
I'll let you know. I'll let you know what happens with it. And,
yeah, listen.
That's
you're breaking Quincy's heart right now.
There's a battle for third string quarterback, which is between McSorley and Huntley. Right now, that's pretty much it in Ravens camp.
Wait, McSorley plays corner, right?
No.
I'm kidding.
No. I know pre-draft people are saying that he played corner. No. So other than that, I mean, they said the receivers are looking fairly good. The big buzz is Dobbins, man. Dobbins has been the buzz. They said
I took him in fantasy, so he better come through.
They saying the dude is killing it. They say that he looks fantastic, Dobbins. And they also like Queens, but I will say the biggest buzz right now is Dobbins. So I know that's Quincy's boy too.
Speaking of my boy, somebody who, Elijah, he's a good watcher of my channel, so I'm just going to lightly rib him. He keeps on going with this Austin Seibert thing. If you check his comment there about me being the only Austin Seibert hater, dog.
Yeah.
The best thing you could say about Austin Seibert was that he's 100% under 40. Look at the percentage of every other kicker in the NFL under 40 and tell me if that's impressive. Stop. Cleveland fans, we need to stop being Cleveland about this. He's not good. He's not good. We just think he's good. You think the Ravens are sitting here like, yeah, Justin Tucker, he doesn't miss under 40.
Wait, he really was.
He
was 86%. He was 86% in extra points last year. He really was.
People are not wrong about that. He's good. They're telling me
this guy has to be cut immediately. 86% on a chip shot.
Zane Gonzalez was 93 and they cut him in week 3 and they're telling me this guy's good. I don't get it.
I'm big fan of Stafford now.
Feel like
Love him.
I feel like I'm going insane.
Okay.
I love. By the way, I checked the roster. You're right. They literally have no kicker. They didn't even bring in any competition whatsoever.
They brought in some guys for like tryouts, and they're like, yeah, they're just making sure if he gets COVID, you know, we got a guy who's next up, and I'm like,
this is great. I love it.
Okay, so Ace has one more thing to go before we close out. Go ahead, Ace.
So the last thing that I wanted to pull up here, I didn't know Tony was bringing the stats.
I get a rebuttal.
I didn't know Tony was bringing the stats. So
I get a rebuttal.
We kind of ended it, and I said, show me a running back that had 1,100 yards, 500, essentially 1,600 yards. So that's what I'm looking at. Running backs that had 1,100 yards and 500 receiving yards from 2000 all the way. Let's see. I mean, I can make LaDainian Tomlinson's name bigger. I don't know how much is he average. Curtis
what are you
Martin.
sorting by? Are you sorting by touchdowns?
I'm not sure. I think it is sorted by touchdowns. I don't know. But Tiki Barber, Saquon Barkley, Le'Veon Bell multiple times, which you should know this, Tony.
Yeah.
Jamal Charles, Dalvin Cook, Ezekiel Elliott, Marshall Faulk. You know, Arian Foster twice, Matt Forte, Leonard Fournette, 2019. Charlie Garner, Amon Green, Todd Gurley, Priest Holmes several years, Steven Jackson, Edgerrin James, David Johnson, Chris Johnson, Deuce McAllister, Christian McCaffrey, LaShawn McCoy,
Hey, there's Jeremy
McFadden,
right.
2010.
Jeremy
Ray Rice, Ricky Waters, Brian Westbrook.
Oh, who's Dominic Williams?
Dominic Williams. I remember him. I think that was when David Carr was at the David Carr.
It's almost
era.
like you could have an outlier at the position.
That's the only guy that I'm like, okay, maybe Dominic Williams. Maybe that's the guy. And Ricky Williams.
1 out of 43 though, Tony doesn't really is not
2 out of 43. 2 out of 43 outlier. So you could have an outlier.
Oh, you're saying Fournette the only?
Fournette is the
maybe Fournette and this guy Dominic Williams. Maybe I mean, look, if you're on that list, does that guarantee that you were a great player? Because Dominic Williams was on the list. So
Well, the
I
rest
never
of
heard
them
of
were
him.
Dominic Williams is pretty good. I remember him. That was like the David Carr years where they didn't have a good line either. So maybe Dominic Williams.
I don't think Dominic Williams is going to be remembered as anything other than an average running back. All right, do I get a rebuttal then? Are we doing rebuttal? Let's go for another hour. All right, start the show back up, or let's take it from the top. I got a whole new bunch of stats here ready to go.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
I can see that. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. We are trying to get to 1,000, so please subscribe if you haven't subscribed and share this content. Hey, with your Steelers, Ravens, Browns, and Bengals fan, or anybody else that wants some AFC North news. And then remember, we're doing the clips during the week and we're doing timestamps. So we're hearing your feedback. So if you have any feedback, please leave it in the comments below. We try to address it. And then channel for Quincy, for Ace, and myself are down below. But hey, let's go. Quincy, where they can find you?
You can find me on youtube.com/Quincy Carey. You can also find me at the funeral for Tony's Leonard Fournette take, thanks to Ace. Ace completely murdered that take. I was almost like, you know what, Tony might have a point. Maybe I was being too mean. And then Ace brought up like 42 running backs who have not been average, who have had a similar stat line. So you know what? It confirmed what I was thinking. Yeah, that take is murdered. Put it in the ground.
Yeah, I mean, if you like inefficiency, just grab numbers, just grab cumulative yards, but no efficiency. I guess that's the player for you.
Speaking of inefficiency, make sure all of you guys, because I see that 40,000 people watch my YouTube channel and like 10,000 people watch this channel and don't subscribe. Somehow, y'all are being very inefficient on that way. So make Tony happy by being more efficient. Everybody who's live right now should make sure they subscribe, or else Tony's going to say this podcast is overrated, and we don't want that to happen now, do we? That's my spiel for this week.
Got to check the analytics before I say that. I got to check our PFF grade.
You guys can find me at New Stripe City on YouTube. Everyone's in my mentions about Leonard Fournette right now on Twitter, so you can catch those at New Stripe City as well. And then I'm on Instagram as well at New Stripe City, still trying to build that up. But of course, you guys can catch us here. Definitely be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We're trying to get to 1,000, like everyone is saying. And if you have friends that enjoy this show that are Browns, Bengals, Steelers, or Ravens fans, please be sure to share it with them as well. And if you're in any of those groups on Facebook or Reddit or any platform, please be sure to share it for us there as well.
Tony.
You can find me here, obviously. AFC North Talk. Make sure you guys, like they said, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. We go live. I guess we're changing the time. We're going to start doing Tuesdays, so we'll see what the time is going to be when we start on Tuesdays. But Tuesdays throughout the year. So just make sure you hit the bell, because that way, whatever time we end up going live, you'll get notified right away. Also, you can find me on Locked On Steelers. I do a weekly Tuesday hit, although I think that's going to move to Thursdays now when the season starts, so you don't have to record it during Monday Night Football. So look for that on Locked On Steelers. Find me on Quincy's channel, by the way. I did a couple videos over there this week. Appreciate Quincy for having me on. And you can find me on Twitter at Steeler Country. Do want to point out really quick, we talked earlier on the show. Oh, we got to get a rebuttal in here. Okay. We talked earlier about, Leonard Fournette, he had to deal with so many 8-man boxes. Everyone was keying on him. Latavius Murray, by the way, this year, very average running back in this league, faced more 8-man boxes than Leonard Fournette, 35%, had 4.4 yards per carry, actually more yards per carry than Leonard Fournette. He must be a better running back than Leonard. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you.
You can find me SZG Sports and IG, Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube channel, obviously in here. And like we said, guys, we love doing the show. We're trying to get to 1,000. You guys have been making this channel grow a lot quick. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you for all that. We are moving to Tuesday. All of us probably gonna tweet when we figure out the time. And the reason is because we don't want to conflict with Monday night. But so check out, it's gonna be next Tuesday. When we start with next Tuesday, it's prediction week.
That's it.
It's prediction is it's week 1. Who's winning, who's losing? So come in. It's gonna be a fun show because there's AFC North matchup week 1. So come by, check that out. It's gonna be fun. Hey, thank you for joining us. Have a great night, guys. Peace out.
Peace.